continue with the third chapter from your economics book of grade 9, and the name of the chapter is An Economy is Sectors, Basic Concepts and Entity. And today we are going to start from factors of production. So what is a factor of production? The goods and services with the help of which the process of production is carried out is called factors of production. So we are having four kinds of factors needed essentially. The first one is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, or you can say organization. I would like to say you cannot change the sequence of this factor of production. Please keep it in mind. The diagram given here, land, labor, capital, organization, or entrepreneurship. Please maintain this sequence. First, what is land? Let us define it. Land doesn't mean the surface on which we are walking. Economics has just added little more to it. So it is land is defined to include not only land surface but also all other gifts of nature. Means the natural resources here they are trying to talk about. So what are the natural resources? The natural resources which are under the control of human beings, that is being considered as land. Okay, not only the piece of land we are walking on, along with it the natural resources which is under human beings control. Though the production or the supply is from the nature's side, but then also we can control how much it can be used and how much not to be used, right? That for that we are saying it is a gift of nature. But few things which is not under the control of human beings, like rainfall, like sunlight, we cannot take these two things under the concept of land because it is not under human control. Okay, what is the importance of land? The greater in the supply of land or natural resources, the greater will be total volume of production of a country. So as the land will be more, if the boundary is more of a country, that means it is having more of natural resources. The more natural resources will be there, the more production will be there. So let us go to the next page. Characteristics of land. Fixed supply. Land cannot be stretched, right? So the land supply is fixed from the nature, and the way we have created boundaries for the countries, it is fixed. So land supply is fixed from nature. The most important characteristics of land is that its supply is fixed. It is given by nature. Okay, zero cost of production. Maybe we are buying it from some agent, we are buying it from a neighbor, we are buying it from some other person, so we are paying that person. But nature have not took a single penny from us to give us the supply of land, right? Zero cost of production. We are just getting the land from the nature free of cost. We are not investing our money to produce land, right? So land does not have any cost of production. It is already there, ready to be used. All other agents of production have to be produced at a cost. Land, however, is a free gift of nature. Immobility. First of all, mobility means movable. Immobility. Land is fixed. It cannot move from one place to another. Land cannot move in the sense in which the labor, the capital can move, right? The land is fixed in its own location. Next is labor. Meaning, by labor we mean that physical and mental effort exerted for the purpose of production of commodity or services. Okay, the labor is somebody, if a small child is playing with mud and trying to make a hut or maybe trying to make some toy, that is also he is giving his mental and physical effort there. But that is just for out of fun he is doing. He is playing with it. So that is not a labor. Okay, when labor is done to produce a commodity, when the same thing, same toy is being produced by maybe a child or maybe a young person, and that is sold in the market, so that is labor. He have applied his labor. Okay, by labor we mean the physical or mental effort exerted for the purpose of production a commodity or service. Remember this, the modern economists have always applied this, the service term you cannot forget. It is only human labor that is considered in this context. The physical exertions of non-human, that the animals, are not called labor. Okay, we are not calling the non-human, that animals' efforts are not being considered here as labor. Characteristics of labor. Labor cannot be separated from the laborer. This means labor always carries his own labor power with him. No matter it is a physical or mental, he is carrying his own labor power with him. Suppose somebody is the owner of a piece of land. So that land can be separated from the landowner. Both are two different entities. The person can get separated from the piece of land. Right? So if a capitalist is having a huge amount of money, that capitalist can get separated from the capital, but a labor himself is having his qualities, is having his own labor power. You cannot separate the labor's power like that. So labor cannot be separated from the laborer. Labor cannot be accumulated by a laborer. Landowner can go on increasing the amount of land owned by him, but in this sense, labor power cannot be accumulated by a laborer. Okay, so it cannot get on increasing. We cannot go somewhere and acquire more of labor. It is within ourselves. Next, labor supply depends on population structure. Labor supply in a country is given by its population at the percentage of able-bodied adults in the population. So what is the total population? If we just calculate, suppose there are 100 persons, all the 100 persons are not going to work in the factory. They are not going to give their labor. Some will be housewives, some will be aged person, some will be their old ladies, right? So some will be children. They won't be working. So all the total population does not come under the labor factor. Human labor usually carries an element of judgment or intelligence with it. This means in the modern time of factors of production, we will find that machines are having very much importance. Okay, all the machines or animal power, if we apply the machines, they will do production at a huge level, but they are not having any kind of judgment in themselves. It is the human being, the human laborers themselves, they can judge it's good, it's bad, what to stop and not to stop, right? So we are having the intelligence, we are having the judgment power within ourselves. Capital essentially is produced means of production. This means produced means of production. Produced means it is made by the humans. So it is saying produced. Means of production. Means of production means it is used as an input to produce other goods. Okay, capital is directly not being consumed. If you are having lots of money, you are buying some goods and you're directly, you're not having the money. We are not having the money. We are just, with the help of the capital, we are buying some raw materials, and with that we are producing something and then we are consuming it. Okay, so capital is directly never used or never consumed. Relationship between capital, wealth and income. Let me just make it very simple for you. Income is the flow of money which the person is earning. Maybe on the monthly purpose, we calculate in the monthly basis, or we calculate on the day basis wage, or you can say salary or per annum income. So we are getting the flow of money here is said as the income. Okay, capital means the money which is invested for production, for further production. Suppose somebody have made a factory, and in that factory that person have made a building. That is capital. Okay, because it is getting involved for the production purpose. That building, that factory building is a capital. The machines which we have bought in that factory, that is also a capital. The raw materials which is needed there, that is also bought and kept in stock. So that is also a capital. Okay, so capital means wherever the money is getting invested for further production. with the investment of that amount of money we are again going to get some amount of profit. Okay, that is called capital. Means they are for the purpose of production, the money is getting invested. This is capital. Wealth means whatever the person is having, maybe the capital, maybe consumable goods, whatever that person is having is called the wealth. Wealth can be used both as an input of production process and as a consumer goods. So you can say all capital goods as part of society's total wealth, but wealth is not necessarily capital. Okay, so wealth means whatever that person is having as a consume, that person can consume, maybe his own house, his factory, the raw materials I was talking about, the machines. Okay, in the house, whatever furniture he is having, the amount of money he have kept in the bank, everything is coming under wealth. Okay, next is importance of capital. Machines are the most important examples of capital goods. Machines increase production several fold, means several times. Since production creates income, increasing production is the way of increasing income. So in simple words, the more we are investing our capital, the more income that person is getting, because as the capital is getting invested more, the more of production is done. From more production, the more income will be earned. This is the assumption done here. There are a few examples given in your book, examples of capital. All raw materials of production are capital because they have been produced somewhere else, elsewhere. Okay, a building is not capital if it is used for private housing, but it is capital if it is used for production purpose. For instance, as a factory building, just now I was telling you, a building, if that is used for production, then it is coming under the capital. But if that building, if you consider the house, that is coming under wealth, that is not coming under capital. Next, we are having some features of capital. Already I have discussed this with you, but there is one point, this is point number D, that is the stock of capital depreciates over time. This means that whatever the stock of the capital is, the money invested, the income which the person is doing, that person have to keep some amount of money aside, because as the machines are getting used, the machines will, some parts will always get wear and tear, means it will get bad. So those parts are needed to get replaced. As those parts are getting replaced, that will have a minus. The total amount of profit that person is earning, from there he have to deduct some amount of money and keep aside for changing the parts when it's broken out. So you can say that the amount of money which is deducted and kept aside, that is called depreciation. Okay, next is money and capital. We need to understand what is the difference between money and capital. Is money capital? The answer is no. Money is not the capital. Money kept in your pocket is not getting involved for production of something else, so that is not a capital. When money is invested somewhere, from where the further production is done, with the help of it the production is getting done, or you're getting interest from that money, that is called capital. Okay, we are having different types of capital here. Fixed capital and circulating capital. Fixed capital means the goods which are bought by the factory owners, and it is kept in the factory and it is getting used again and again for many years, like for example machine, furniture, the building. Okay, you can say land. All these are the fixed capital. And circulating capital means the capitals which are getting used in a single round, and again you have, for the further production you have to invest your money. Okay, that is called circulating capital. For example, raw materials, once the amount of money or the capital invested in the raw material once the production will be done, it will go to the market, it will get sold there, the person will earn profit, and again he will buy the raw material and start the production once again. So it is circulating, you can understand, it is going in a circular manner. So it's saying circulating capital. Next we are having sunk capital and floating capital. Sunk capital means we are investing the money on such commodities, or you can say in such particular things where the money is having only one single use, it is not getting transferred. For example, if somebody is buying a machine with which the person can make only noodles, so that is sunk capital. Once the company decides to shut down, then that machine cannot be used for any other purpose, because that machine can only produce noodles, right? So that is sunk capital. But in case if a company have developed and it is having hundreds of computers, and somewhere the call center gets off and again they are going for the banking sector, then those computers can again get reused, right? So this is floating capital. Floating capital means where we are investing our money and then we are again being able to use that product or that commodity once again for some other purpose. Okay. Next we are having money capital and real capital. Money capital means the amount of money that person is expending or spending for getting the goods, or you can say raw materials. An amount of money is called money capital if it is to be used for the purpose of purchasing capital goods. So money capital means they are directly saying about the money. Okay. And the real capital means the thing which that person have bought spending the money. Like for example, a person have made a factory, he wants to buy raw material. So if he is spending 10 lakhs of rupees, so as he is spending 10 lakhs of rupees, that is his money capital. And with the expenditure of 10 lakhs he is getting the raw materials. This raw material is the real capital for him now. Okay, human capital and non-human capital. It is quite weird to title humans as capital, but why they are saying humans as capital? Because they are talking about the educated and skilled labor is sometimes referred as human capital, because when human beings are born, they are not educated, they are not skilled. Slowly they are going through their education process, their training process, and then they are gaining this you can say gaining their skills and gaining their talents, right? So that's why they are saying that human beings are also part of capital. So it is, they are particularly saying here about the human beings. This is the human capital. Non-human capitals means other than human, whatever capital is there, that is non-human capitals. Like for example, we can say the raw materials, the buildings, the machines, everything is coming under the non-human material capital. Next we are having the last point of the day is organization or entrepreneurship. What is the role of an entrepreneur? The role of an entrepreneur is to take the initiative in production process. He is the person who will be guiding how the production is to be done, where the production is to be done, how much the production is to be done, what is the quality of the production, and what is the price at which it is to be sold. He is the sole person responsible for organizing and managing the entire production process. Okay, first point he needs to have is risk taking. He is a person who is bearing the high amount of risk. He is investing his capital and he is bearing the risk. If it is profit, it's for him. If it is loss, it's for him. After paying all you can say all the factors of production is getting involved here. So he is paying all the laborers, he is getting you can say the machines, he's getting the raw materials. After everything is over, the amount of money left with him, then that is the money, that is the, you can say, the profit or loss, whatever it is, that is the risk he have undertook. Next is management. So in brief, we can say the task of managing a farm as a whole falls on the entrepreneur. Okay, how the good is going to be sold, how it is going to be made, how it is going to be launched, everything is getting managed by him. From where the raw materials are going to come, everything is going to get managed by the entrepreneur. Delegation of function. Delegation means giveaway here. Okay, so delegation here, they are trying to say us that nowadays entrepreneurs are delegating their work on the hired managers. The entrepreneurs are hiring manager, keeping them in the job and paying them salaries, and just the entrepreneur is trying to bear only the risk factor. All the managerial works is now handed over to the hired managers. From where the raw material will come, how the production is being done, where the products are going to go to which market, at which price, everything is getting nowadays determined by these hired managers. Now the entrepreneurs are only bearing the risk. Hopefully you understood the chapter. In the next video we shall start with the market portion. Thank you.